Amid the pitch-black night on the Red Sea, the water lies flat as a mirror. Under a moonless sky, only a faint streak of yellow light drifts slowly through the darkness. It is the cargo ship, Careen A. On the outside, it looks just like countless other container vessels, but to those tracking it from afar, the Careen A is more than just a freighter. Intelligence sources suggest that beneath its steel hull lies a massive arsenal, en route to a region already fraught with conflict. If this ship docks safely, a new wave of attacks could very well emerge, triggering endless cycles of violence. In the distant sky, the low rumble of an Israeli military transport plane grows louder. Inside the cargo hold, members of the Naval Commando Unit, Shayatet 13, silently double-check their fast ropes, carabiners, life vests, and radios. They have undergone hundreds of hours of training for this very moment, to board a moving vessel, seize control as swiftly as possible, and avoid any unnecessary casualties. None of them consider this a simple mission. The ship flies a foreign flag, the crew are civilians, and these waters are watched by many eyes. A single slip-up could turn an operation meant to intercept weapons into a major diplomatic crisis. On the deck of the Careen A few sailors are changing shifts. To them, this is just another long night of work amidst the vast ocean. They have no idea that, not far above in the sky, a team is preparing to land on their deck, with orders to uncover what the ship is truly carrying and where it is heading. In a few minutes, the aircraft will kill its lights and drop altitude. Masked figures will descend into the night, suspended by thin ropes between the sky and the sea. The darkness over the Red Sea remains silent, but within that silence, a coordinated operation of intelligence and action is approaching the point of no return. And it all begins with a single question. Is the Careen A an ordinary cargo ship? Or is it a crucial link in a secret weapons smuggling ring in the middle of the ocean? To understand why a special forces unit had to rappel down onto a cargo ship in the middle of the night on the Red Sea, we need to turn back time to the context of several months prior. In the Middle East, tension between Israel and Palestinian armed forces was nothing new. Attacks using light weapons, mortars, and homemade rockets had left many residential areas and cities in the region living in fear. Each side carried within itself losses and trauma spanning decades, causing suspicion to grow thick like a layer of haze covering the desert sky. In that context, the question of the origin of weapons was always something that haunted security agencies. Weapons do not just appear out of thin air. They must be manufactured, bought and sold, transported, hidden, and moved across multiple borders and waters. On maritime maps, the Red Sea is one of the strategic arteries, connecting the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean, a place where cargo ships of every nationality pass through every day, carrying containers, crates, cranes, machinery, food, and oil. Amidst thousands of such vessels, detecting a single ship carrying weapons was no easy feat. In closed meeting rooms in Tel Aviv, intelligence reports began to pile up. Fragmented pieces of information appeared. A ship bought from one country, registered under another's flag, changing names, changing owners, and altering its itinerary multiple times. There were reports of quiet negotiations to purchase a large consignment of arms, which could include guns, ammunition, and rocket launch systems. There was intelligence indicating that part of this shipment was planned to be transported by sea, camouflaged within civilian cargo containers. The name Careen A began to appear more frequently in the briefings. It was not a warship, not a frigate, but a medium-sized cargo ship, outwardly unremarkable. But to those scrutinizing its every detail on the map, the Careen A was a massive question mark. From the moment it was acquired, changed nationality, and then unexpectedly altered its course, everything made analysts suspicious. Why would an ordinary cargo ship take such a circuitous route? Why were there strange stops at ports where it did not need to dock if it were merely carrying commercial goods? Intelligence is not a story written clearly on white paper. What officers held in their hands were scattered puzzle pieces, an intercepted call, a suspicious invoice, satellite imagery of long and heavy objects being loaded onto the ship, and vague accounts from an intermediary source. But when pieced together, the picture became clear. There was a very high probability that this ship was transporting a massive amount of weaponry, heading toward forces involved in armed conflict. For the Israeli military leadership, this was impossible to ignore. If those crates docked safely, they would soon appear in the form of shells and volleys of rockets flying into residential zones. Each container was not just a block of metal on a ship, but a potential danger to neighborhoods, bus stations, and apartments where civilians lived. The question was no longer, should something be done, but what must be done and when? On the map table, red lines connected port to port,
the cargo is unloaded.
from one nation's waters to international waters. Every option was weighed. Let the ship continue and monitor it, hoping to uncover the entire network behind it, or intercept it right at sea, accepting the diplomatic, legal, and security risks. If they struck too late, the weapons might already be offloaded in a place where access was difficult. If they struck too early, when evidence was not yet clear enough, the operation could be viewed as a controversial unilateral action. After many closed-door meetings, a decision was formed. They would stop the Carine while it was in the Red Sea, in an area where deploying special forces from the air and sea was feasible. The operation demanded not just combat skills, but a precise coordination equation between intelligence, the Air Force, the Navy, and Special Forces. The objective was set very clearly. Approach the ship without causing unnecessary casualties. Safely secure the crew. Inspect the cargo. And record the evidence clearly, so that anyone in the world looking at it could see exactly what was being carried on that ship. In discreet barracks, members of Shayatet 13 were called into a small briefing room. On the screen were grainy satellite images of the Carine, its path on the sea, and preliminary sketches of the ship's structure. They listened to orders, memorizing the way to the deck, the location of the command bridge, and the way down to the cargo hold. For them, this was a specific mission, with an hour, a landing point, and a clear target. But behind that order to launch was a complex chain of political and security contexts, where every step was weighed by the centimeter on the map. As the darkness over the Red Sea deepened, the silent flow of information, decisions, and preparations converged on a single point: the night of the Carine raid. When the closed-door meetings, the maps with red lines, and the intelligence bulletins are folded away, it is time for another phase to speak. The phase where every plan must collide with reality. The night chosen for the operation drifts by like any other night on the Red Sea. Cargo ships continue to move along the busy shipping lanes, lights on their decks and in their cabins casting the familiar warm yellow glow. But in a corner of the sky darker than usual, a military aircraft is preparing for a mission that none of the ordinary sailors down below could ever imagine. Inside the aircraft's hold, dim lights shine on protective helmets and bulletproof vests. Members of Shayatet 13 sit close together in rows, straps tightened across their shoulders, gloves on their hands, each immersed in their own thoughts but sharing a common heartbeat. They listen one last time to the commander's instructions over the radio. The target ship, the projected location, identification signals, the scenario if the crew cooperates, the scenario if there is resistance. The mission, repeated again and again, remains singular. Seize control and inspect. Avoid unnecessary injury. Gather clear evidence. In another room on land, operation officers stare at radar screens, at the small blips representing vessels on the sea surface. A bolder line marks the path of the Carine. They must coordinate the timing so that the aircraft carrying the commandos, the support vessels on the water, and the target ship all meet in a carefully calculated zone, where legal, security, and rescue factors all fall within acceptable limits. As the aircraft enters the designated airspace, the lights in the hold switch to a dimmer mode. The steady drone of the engines creates a thick wall of sound. But inside, the distinct clicks of latches, the pulling of straps, and the rechecking of carabiners ring out clearly. The team commander walks down the line, lightly touching each member on the shoulder, giving them a brief nod, enough to reassure them. They have practiced this many times on models, but everyone understands that the real ship out there will not be exactly like the training room. Below, the Korean A continues its journey. The crew might be busy with shift changes, logging the journey, checking machinery, or simply trying to catch a few minutes of rest between watches. They have no idea that in the air, other eyes are fixed tightly on the ship's path, through cockpit glass, through observation devices, through data transmitted from tracking systems. An officer on the plane looks through a small screen showing the blurry image of the sea surface below. Coordinates are called out, compared with the map. Gradually, in the darkness, the silhouette of the target ship emerges, a long black mass, with a few points of light from navigation lamps at the bow and stern. The aircraft begins to descend, circling behind to avoid revealing itself too early. Now, the distance between the plan on paper and reality is measured only in minutes of flight. When the final signal from command allows the approach phase to begin, inside the aircraft hold, a signal light switches from standby to execute. The rear ramp slowly opens, cold wind rushes in, carrying the roar of the engines, which becomes even more deafening. The night on the Red Sea is no longer a distant image on a map, but a pitch-black void beneath their feet, where the water is merely a faint strip reflecting very little light. The fast ropes are checked one last time, hooked to the airframe, ready for each man to slide down. The launch order rings out briefly. The first man stands up, steps to the door, crouching low as the wind blasts in. He glances down, seeing only faint dots of light on the ship's deck. Then, without hesitation, launches himself out, sliding down the rope straight into the void. One by one, the figures disappear into the night, leaving only the hook vibrating slightly after each turn. For them, hanging suspended between sky and water for a few seconds has become familiar. But the sensation of intense focus still makes every sense feel stretched, taut. When boots hit the deck, the only sound the commandos hear is the thud of shoes on iron and the pounding of blood in their ears. They quickly unhook, moving aside to make room for the person behind. The lights on the deck are not too bright, enough to see but not enough to reveal every face clearly. They move low,
take these seats and
hugging the existing structures on the ship, heading toward the command bridge, where the helm and communication systems are controlled. In the first few seconds, the most important thing is to avoid causing panic. The crew, if they suddenly encounter armed figures on the deck, could react in unpredictable ways. The team has been instructed carefully. Shout clearly, demand everyone stay calm, raise their hands, do not approach, to ensure safety for both sides. This is not an attack to destroy an enemy, but an operation to inspect, clarify, and control the situation. On the bridge, the officer on watch is likely the first to realize something is wrong.
Stay calm and stay down.
Urgent knocking on the door,
now.
commands in a
Everything is
strange
going to be
voice
fine.
demanding the door be opened and that no controls be touched, could make anyone in that position panic. But when the door opens and they see men in helmets and dark gear, holding weapons but keeping their distance, signaling to stop and raise hands, the message is conveyed clearly. This is an inspection, not an indiscriminate attack. A group of commandos quickly takes positions in the wheelhouse, ensuring the ship remains in a safe steering mode, not turning abruptly or stopping in the middle of a shipping lane. The crew is asked to leave the control stations, sit in a corner, supervised but not treated roughly. They are asked to provide documents, identities, and information about the journey. Even though the languages do not perfectly match, basic words and the presence of a translator radio help both sides understand the main points. Meanwhile, in other areas of the ship, the remaining commando teams fan out along narrow corridors, down metal staircases, through heavy doors leading to the engine room and crew living quarters. They must ensure that no one is hiding in the rooms. No one is panicking and running into dangerous areas like the engine room or near the cargo hold. Every door opened holds the potential of facing a person who is frightened, confused, or even misunderstanding their intentions. Therefore, the voice giving orders must be decisive but not threatening.
Copy that, Commander. Moving
Gestures must be clear to convey, "Stay put. We do not intend to harm." When the ship is secured in terms of personnel, attention gradually shifts to the lower hull, where the deep cargo holds and stacked containers are located. The plan has already mapped out the areas to be inspected first, based on information from previous documents and images. However, facing rows of metal boxes packed close together in a cramped space, every step inside brings an added sense of heaviness. They must be both cautious and continue to follow safety rules to avoid creating dangerous situations. In the humid air heavy with the smell of machine oil, flashlight beams shine on corrugated metal walls, reflecting as flickering streaks of light. Labels on containers, symbols indicating weight, origin, and type of cargo are checked one by one. There are crates that are clearly civilian goods, construction materials, machinery, equipment. Others are harder to guess, bearing only codes and general symbols. The team must decide which container needs to be opened first, which can be checked later, to both save time and quickly find what they were sent here to find. Elsewhere on the ship, the operation commanders have received the first critical answer. The ship has been secured without serious casualties. That marks the transition from approach and seize control to verify and gather evidence. What happens next will be important not only to the forces involved in the operation, but also to all subsequent debates about legitimacy, methodology, and the impact of this event on the larger political chessboard. In the cargo hold, they finally stand before the containers deemed most suspicious. Nothing on the outside indicates what is inside, but prior intelligence combined with the placement, weight, and route the ship has taken marks them as priority. Before opening, safety principles are reiterated. Beware of explosive materials. Beware of booby traps. Keep a safe distance. Every action is recorded, both in writing and in images, so that later it is not just a story told by word of mouth. As the door of the first container slides aside, the sound of metal scraping against metal rings out clearly in the confined space. Flashlight beams shine inside, sweeping across rows of wooden crates stacked from floor to ceiling. These are not household goods or bulky civilian machinery, but long, narrow crates, fairly uniform in size, sealed and strapped tight. The numbers regarding quantity and total weight that officers had seen in reports suddenly appear much more vivid as they stand before the actual wooden crates. A few crates are selected to have their seals broken. The pry bar wedges into the edge. Nails pop out. The wooden lid lifts inch by inch. Inside, beneath a layer of protective lining, are metal objects arranged neatly, oiled to prevent rust. To those with experience, a mere glance is enough to understand that these are not ordinary civilian goods. What was once just suspicion on paper, on screens, has now become reality right before their eyes, with shapes, sizes, and quantities that are hard to ignore. The air in the cargo hold becomes quieter than usual.
Well done, team.
No one shouts in victory. No one shows excitement. They know that before them lie tools that could cause significant damage if they reach the destination intended by those secretly transporting them. Their task now is to record every detail truthfully and fully. Characteristics, quantity, how they were concealed, accompanying paperwork if any. Photos are taken, videos are filmed, numbers are recorded in notebooks. On the bridge, news of the discovery in the hold is reported via secure communication lines to the distant command center. Those not present on the
Zoom in
ship,
on grid
but who have
reference
followed
floor
every step of the
privatization. We
operation
need
via
confirmation on
electronic
that heat
boards,
signature now.
via radio,
Confirmed,
via
Commander.
encrypted links,
Analyzing data
now
stream.
receive confirmation of what they had predicted. This ship is indeed carrying a large amount of weapons. From here, the story no longer stops at a maritime operation, but steps into the phase of subsequent decisions. How to handle the ship,
Maintain current
how to
heading.
handle the weapons, and what to say to the rest of the world when the event is announced. Deep below deck, the commandos continue their silent work, checking every compartment, ensuring no detail is missed. For them, tonight will be just a line in the operation log. Departure time, boarding time, bridge control time, container opening time, inspection completion time. But for analysts and the public later, the image of a cargo ship intercepted in the middle of the Red Sea, with crates of weapons brought to light, will become a symbol of how silent smuggling routes can suddenly be exposed before the eyes of the world. And everything that took place during those tense minutes on the deck of the Korean A that night is the very center of that story. On the makeshift command bridge of the Korean A, the cold white light casts down on faces that are less tense, yet cannot be called relaxed. The crew sits in a row, hands clasped, occasionally glancing out at the deck, where Special Forces members are still moving back and forth. They have understood that their ship is no longer just an ordinary cargo vessel in the night, but has become the center of an operation whose importance far exceeds the view of anyone standing on this steel deck. News of the crates of weapons in the cargo hold has been reported to superiors. On the other end of the line, hundreds of kilometers away, commanding officers and political representatives are facing the next chain of decisions. On one hand, they have achieved what the operation set out to do.
Interference is heavy.
The ship has been stopped safely. The suspicious cargo has been found, and initial evidence is in hand. On the other hand, what happens next will shape how the world perceives this event and its impact on the already tangled web of conflict in the region. The first choice is a purely technical issue, yet one full of weight. Where to take the ship? Leaving the Korean A to drift on the Red Sea is impossible, as there is both a risk of losing control and difficulty in keeping everyone on board safe. But bringing it to which port, under whose jurisdiction, and following what legal procedure, is a far more complex story than simply adjusting the rudder. Scenarios are laid out. Tow the ship to a port controlled by Israel. Find an intermediate port, or even process part of the cargo right at sea. Each scenario comes with long pages of notes on international law, on the anticipated reactions of involved parties, and on the level of transparency if the incident is later brought before public opinion. Meanwhile, a second, more difficult decision is placed on the table. Keep the information secret or announce it widely. Keeping it secret means having more time to exploit intelligence sources, to delve deeper into the network behind this arms shipment, to determine who paid and who is waiting at the destination. Announcing it means accepting that the event steps immediately into the glare of the media, where every photo, every video clip, every word will be analyzed, debated, and even doubted or interpreted in many different ways. On one side is the benefit of intelligence, of knowing more. On the other is the desire to prove to the world that this ship is indeed carrying what they have alleged. According to later sources, there were heated internal debates about which objective should be prioritized. Some argued that this was an opportunity to show the international community a concrete example of the silent flow of weapons in the region, thereby creating additional diplomatic pressure. Others worried that handling the incident too loudly would heavily impact already fragile dialogue channels, making the search for a long-term solution more difficult. Amidst those arguments, one thing remained unchanged. The reality is, at this present moment, those crates of weapons are lying on the deck of a ship that has been seized, no longer capable of continuing its journey to where they were intended to go. Finally, a decision is formed. The ship will be taken to a port under Israeli control, where the cargo on board will be fully inventoried, and evidence will be organized, stored, and prepared for potential public release. This means that the Korean A, from a tiny nameless dot on a maritime map, is about to become the focal point of many press conferences, articles, and reports. But before the first flashbulbs go off, a series of tasks must be completed with precision, ensuring the safety of the crew, keeping the ship in a stable condition, and avoiding any incidents during transit. On the deck, the commandos receive new orders. Stabilize the situation. Prepare for the ship to change course under their supervision. They walk along the railings, rechecking anchor lines, checking the status of machinery, and communicating with support vessels in the distance. Those on the ship might not hear all the radio exchanges, but they can sense that everything has now moved to a different phase. The initial feelings of surprise and anxiety are gradually replaced by a heavy waiting to see how their future, and the future of this ship, will be decided. Behind every number, every report, remains the story of choice in a gray zone with many layers of meaning. Those ordering the interception of the ship must balance the responsibility of protecting their citizens with the responsibility of not letting tension escalate out of control. Those directly participating in the operation must balance the firmness needed to complete the mission with the calmness and restraint to not cause further harm. The moment the Careen A is forced to change course, leaving its original shipping lane, is the intersection of those choices. A ship, an arsenal, and a decision that will be recalled in many debates about security and conflict in the region. Auf der provisorischen Kommandobrücke der Careen fällt das kalte weiße Licht auf Gesichter, die zwar weniger angespannt sind, aber noch lange nicht als entspannt bezeichnet werden können. Die Besatzung sitzt in einer Reihe, die Hände gefaltet, und wirft gelegentlich Blicke auf das Deck, wo sich immer noch Mitglieder der Spezialeinheit hin und her bewegen. Sie haben verstanden, dass ihr Schiff nicht mehr nur ein gewöhnlicher Frachter in der Nacht ist, sondern zum Zentrum einer Operation geworden ist, deren Bedeutung weit über den Horizont eines jeden hinausgeht, der auf diesem Stahldeck steht. Die Nachricht über die Waffenkiste in einem Laderam wurde in die Vorgesetzten gemeldet. Am anderen Ende der Leitung, Hunderte von Kilometern entfernt, stehen kommandierende Offiziere und politische Vertreter vor der nächsten Kette von Entscheidungen. Einerseits haben sie erreicht, was das Ziel der Operation war. Das Schiff wurde sicher gestoppt, die verdächtige Ladung gefunden, und erste Beweise sind gesichert. Andererseits wird das, was als nächstes geschieht, prägen, wie die Welt dieses Ereignis wahrnimmt und wie es sich auf das bereits verworrene Konfliktnetz in der Region auswirkt. Die erste Wahl ist eine rein technische Frage, aber eine von großem Gewicht. Wohin mit dem Schiff, die Careen auf dem Roten Meer treiben zu lassen, ist unmöglich. Das sowohl das Risiko eines Kontrollverlusts besteht als auch die Schwierigkeit, alle an Bord sicher zu halten. Aber in welchen Hafen man es bringt, unter wessen Gerichtsbarkeit und nach welchem rechtlichen Verfahren, ist eine weitaus komplexere Geschichte, als einfach nur das Ruder zu verstellen. Szenarien werden entworfen. Das Schiff in einen von Israel kontrollierten Hafen schleppen, einen Zwischenhafen finden oder sogar einen Teil der Ladung direkt auf See bearbeiten. Jedes Szenario ist verbunden mit langen Zeiten und Notizen über Internationales. Recht über die erwarteten Reaktionen der beteiligten Partien und über den Grad der Transparenz. Falls der Vorfall später vor die öffentliche Meinung gebracht wird, währenddessen liegt eine zweite schwierigere Entscheidung auf dem Tisch. Die Informationen geheim halten oder sie breit verkünden. Geheimhaltung bedeutet mehr Zeit. Geheimdienstquellen auszuschöpfen, tiefer in das Netzwerk hinter dieser Waffenlieferung einzutauchen, zu bestimmen, wer bezahlt hat und wer am Bestimmungsort wartet, eine Bekanntmachung bedeutet zu akzeptieren, dass das Ereignis sofort ins Grelllicht der Medien rückte, wo Jades Foto, Jader, Videoclip, Jades Wort analysiert, debattiert und sogar engezweifelt oder auf viele verschiedene Arten interpretiert wird. Auf der einen Seite steht der Nutzen der Aufklärung, des Mehrwissens, auf der anderen der Wunsch, der Welt zu beweisen, dass dieses Schiff tatsächlich das transportiert, was sie behauptet haben. Laut späteren Quellen gab es hitzige interne Debatten darüber, welches Ziel priorisiert werden sollte. Einige argumentierten, dies sei eine Gelegenheit, der internationalen Gemeinschaft ein konkretes Beispiel für den stillen Waffenfluss in der Region zu zeigen und dadurch zusätzlichen diplomatischen Druck zu erzeugen. Andere befürchteten, dass ein zu lauter Umgang mit dem Vorfall die bereits fragilen Dialogkanäle stark beeinträchtigen würde, was die Suche nach einer langfristigen Lösung erschweren würde. Inmitten dieser Argumente blieb eines unverändert. Die Realität ist, dass in diesem Moment diese Waffenkisten auf dem Deck eines beschlagnahmten Schiffs liegen, unfähig, ihre Reise dorthin fortzusetzen, wo sie ursprünglich hin sollten. Schließlich formt sich eine Entscheidung. Das Schiff wurde in einen Hafen unter israelischer Kontrolle gebracht, wo die Ladung an Bord vollständig inventarisiert wurde und Beweise geordnet, gelagert und für eine mögliche Veröffentlichung vorbereitet werden. Das bedeutet, dass die Karine von einem winzigen namenlosen Punkt auf einer Seekarte bald zum Mittelpunkt vieler Pressekonferenzen, Artikel und Berichte werden wird. Doch bevor die ersten Blitzlichter aufleuchten, muss eine Reihe von Aufgaben mit Precision erledigt werden. Die Sicherheit der Besatzung gewährleisten, das Schiff in einem stabilen Zustand halten und jegliche Zwischenfälle während der Überfahrt vermeiden. Entdecker halten die Kommandos neu Befehl. Die Situation stabilisieren, sich darauf vorbereiten, dass das Schiff unter ihrer Aufsicht den Kurs ändert. Sie gehen in der Reling entlang, überprüfen erneut die Ankerleinen, prüfen den Status der Maschinen und kommunizieren mit den Unterstützungsschiffen in der Ferne. Diejenigen auf dem Schiff hören vielleicht nicht den gesamten Funkverkehr, aber sie spüren, dass nun alles in eine andere Phase übergegangen ist. Die anfänglichen Gefühle von Überraschung und Angst werden allmählich durch ein schweres Warten ersetzt. Das Warten darauf, wie über ihre Zukunft und die Zukunft dieses Schiffs entschieden wird. Hinter jeder Saal, jedem Bericht bleibt die Geschichte der Entscheidung in einer Grauzone mit vielen Bedeutungsebenen. Diejenigen, die das Abfangen des Schiffs anordnen, müssen die Verantwortung für den Schutz ihrer Bürger mit der Verantwortung abwägen, die Spannung nicht außer Kontrolle geraten zu lassen. Diejenigen, die direkt in der Operation teilnehmen, müssen die notwendig Härte zur Erfüllung der Mission mit der Ruhe und Zurückhaltung abwägen, keinen weiteren Schaden anzurichten. Der Moment, in dem die Karine gezwungen wird, den Kurs zu ändern und ihre ursprüngliche Schifffahrtsroute zu verlassen, ist der Schnittpunkt dieser Entscheidungen. Ein Schiff, ein Arsenal und eine Entscheidung. Und die in vielen Debatten über Sicherheit und Konflikte in der Region erinnert werden wird.